close to where we belong, and we're trying to go somewhere new. And I try to crack this iceberg open till it shatters through the ocean. I wanna make shockwaves. I wanna make shockwaves with you. Gonna move the ocean current till the waves flood what's been burning. I wanna make shockwaves. I wanna make shockwaves with you. And I know I'm only getting higher till it feels like I can walk through fire. And I know I'm only getting higher till it feels like I can walk through fire.
Gentlemen, thank you for joining us this fine Tuesday evening. My name is Kyle Corvus Crow, joined by the one and only Coco the Dragon for an exciting League of Legends Collegiate Series as we're ready to get in Arizona State University, taking on Embry Riddle Prescott, also out of Arizona. So a little bit of Southwest shakeup coming our way.
Oh, yeah, and I'm going to be excited who's going to be really the hottest picks for this series. And looking already at sort of the rosters and the lineups already, you're giving Arizona State University just a little bit of an edge just because of the ranking differential. You're messing up with a Gold 4 jungler against a Diamond 2 jungler with Jeremiah DeForth sitting on Embry and then Adam W for ASU B team. So that is the biggest differential. Everyone else is sort of bumped more together, or Diamond 1, excuse me. I think my client was a little scuffed on that, but it makes it even worse for Embry. And it's a problem where for me, that's where we're going to have to look exactly on how well both of them are going to be able to coordinate the map.
Absolutely. And if you're looking at this pro draft already, they were a little hasty, right? So excited. They wanted to go ahead and get in and find out what they were going to do and strategize. So they already do have that one clear and out of the way. So a lot of interesting picks. You said a lot of blue and purple, right? Coming through.
Yeah, blue and purple's the hint. And I think that's something that goes with like the world's meta as well. Like Kaisa is one of those big ones. You have the Rises who also gives that nice hue. And then Zaya as well. So purple is a big and fabulous color just because of worlds. And then Mordekaiser as well because, you know, Kaiser more in the top lane kind of gives it away that you don't want to get that into the hands of the top lane.
Yeah, just obviously a ban out on site. No problem. It was the first one they took out. Didn't even bother entertaining the idea. Rek'Sai and Kaisa as well, pretty strong on the early run of things. Gangplank, Pantheon, Zaya. Gangplank I know is a little bit more targeted on the side of ASU. They definitely don't want to see that one coming out against themselves. So just taking it off the board's no problem. And then not a huge surprise that we're going to see them kind of go lean towards those bot lane jungle pickups early. I'm really excited for ASU to see this Dr. Mundo come out.
Oh, yeah. The Dr. Mundo is going to be intriguing nonetheless because the jungle Mundo is so surprising. And you most likely going to be going fleet footwork on Adam W, which will make it almost impossible to kill it without some sense of a grievous wounds. Luckily for Embry, they do have the Kled in the top lane, which has the empowered healing reduction. So instead of that normal 35%, it is a massive 65% healing reduction, which can really hurt Mundo's in that late game and even in the mid game skirmishes where he's very reliant on his regenerations from his ultimate.
As a Mundo player, sort of a one trick when it comes to jungle or top, really, if I have to be forced onto that side of the map, like all good casters, I am a support main. So with that, you know, it's such a frustrating thing to play against. We'll see exactly how they do decide to work around it. Sejuani, of course, being the jungler on the other side for Jeremiah DeForth there. And somebody that, you know, is going to have a little bit more gank potential and priority in the earlier stages of this game. maybe looking to be the proactive one to shut Mundo down before he gets to that couple item unkillable terror that we all know and love so much.
Of course, and it gives me a little bit of a reprieve knowing that the Sejuani is sitting on Jeremiah's hands because of how easily executable that jungle matchup is. It can be concerned if you really get Mundo ahead, but Sejuani being such a baseline, having that reliability and converting into a frontline tank with hard engagement into a composition that might be pretty vulnerable depending on how the rest of that draft sort of reveals itself to be is something that can just help reinforce the deficits that they have with just the basic skill matchups that they're dealing with. Of course, you have the final two picks that are going to be coming out shortly, and the bands flying by, sort of really choking out the rest of those comfort picks that the solo laners have.
Comfort picks, yeah, certainly a consideration here. As I mentioned this just about every broadcast, I think it bears mentioning just about every broadcast. These two teams are likely not ones that have scrimmed each other often. Now, maybe this one's a bit of an exception because they're so close to each other. At least have the advantage of being in the same state, which I know if my home state of Georgia is any sort of bearing on that. I know the schools around here like to play each other quite a bit, even if they're not in the same running leagues with each other. So maybe that's going on. But for the most part, with collegiate teams and CSL and just kind of what we see in general, these teams aren't really scrimming each other. This is kind of a cold open. They feel each other out, just what they can find, scrape out on the likes of the op.ggs and other, information scraping tools out there. So usually expect to see a little bit of slower starts, and then it just ramps up once they both have a feel for kind of how they want to play against each other, how they want to fight.
Yeah, for sure. And it's where that's going to sort of slow down that first game initially. Like you said, they're just going to feel each other out. But with the compositions that ASU is drafted, you have the Aurelia and the Rise. You got massive security in that late game, and then going into a mid game conversion with the Mundo jungle. I'm going to be interested on how well both of these teams are going to sort of dance around objectives. Dragon, more specifically, to see how well that RNG element factors in. Because both of the solo lanes, you can definitely sort of determine that it's like, we are here to skirmish, we're here to fight, and we want to mess with you and really gain our advantages. Where bottom lane is a little bit more cut and dry. You have the Caitlyn Morgana who want to be winning that lane definitively in the early stages, and then convert that to where they can sort of rotate with the rest of their team. Where Ezreal and Braum want to make sure that they can slow that down, have decent wave clear, get to those power spikes with the 2-item power spike that Ezreal has with Triforce and Muramana, and then go from there and try and collapse on those lesser mobile champions of that of Rise.
I like that you mentioned the Dragon specifically as an RNG element that's going to come into play, because you can kind of see these two teams and see where they might be hoping for different Drakes to be spawning for themselves here. Maybe on the side of Embry Riddle, you like the idea of that Mountain Drake to aid with some of the siege that you're going to need when you draft an Ezreal, right? Okay, over on the side of ASU, they have the Caitlyn, don't need that as much, but maybe the likes of a Cloud Drake get that Irelia, the Mundo, the Rise in your face faster, pop off those engage tools that they're looking for. Could be an interesting dynamic come to play.
Yeah. And of course, Ocean Drake, every single one of them matters in this point, and I think bolstering their strengths more than really just sort of evening out the creases is actually something that's more important. Like, if you have the Caitlyn with a Mountain Drake, her siege is going to be immense, especially with the headshot procs that she'll be able to get on turrets and secure the more neutral objectives like Rift Herald and Baron later on into the game. So if she has that going for it, that's absolutely ridiculous. But it's something where I will be keeping an eye on how these two junglers are going to mesh down there, because, as you mentioned, Sejuani has a little bit better gank security and trying to get down onto it, an opponent, where you have the Morgana with the Black Shield that might be able to just sort of keep her at bay long enough to where Adam W has set up his counter gank and come in and really starts to batter people down with his cleavers.
I'm looking forward to seeing that out of Adam W in particular there, the Mundo. Like I said, something I definitely want to keep an eye on. Something that's getting my attention, my curiosity drawn into this particular one is that both mid laners have opted to run the teleport. So we have a bit of a global game on our hands. Talk to me about these two particular solo lanes. I think mostly top is the one I'm most interested in at the moment, and how they're going to expect at what times they're going to expect to kind of come through and pop off for the team.
For top lane, it is going to be a lot more bloody in a sense of expectations, because you want Kled and Aurelia to try and gain some sense of an advantage over another. Kled has that early game, I'd say, upper hand because of the fact that if he gets in with his Joust, gets a bear trap clawed in on Aurelia, it makes it a lot more difficult for her to get away from him. And his early game burst damage is much stronger than hers. But once she is able to get that Trinity Force into a Tiamat setup, that's where it really starts to cause trouble for him. Get something advantageous in that top side, and then where to the mid conversion lies is more of just evening out the numbers, CSing, making sure that one of you has just lane priority, push the other one to their turret, and then make a roam with your jungler to that bottom lane where you can abuse the double teleports that both of these teams have.
I'm really expecting to see, yes, quite a global game coming out from here. I would think ASU have a little bit of the advantage on that just with some of their team composition, but you take a look on the other side, Embry Riddle, the Sejuani, the Braum, both of them going to be able to do quite a lot in the regards of CC. That's going to be tough to deal with. I'm actually looking at Skarmory on this Morgana as somebody who's absolutely going to need to be playing with every bit of attention and focus on this one if they're hoping to negate some of those unfortunate factors coming in. But speaking of coming in, ladies and gentlemen, we're just about ready to load on into this game number one between these two teams. Before we do, quick sponsor announcement. Do want to tell you all about how wonderful GameStop is being to us this year. They've got their weekly events coming up, their weekly online tournaments they're running here. Arizona State, the A team, actually the victorious winner of the first GameStop weekly for League of Legends. You can find out more about that one, GameStop.com/esports, and everything they're doing here in the scene. Maybe get involved with yourself if you're not in CSL this year. Well, hey, don't worry. There's plenty of other collegiate opportunities going around, and GameStop, they're at the forefront of some of that.
Oh, yeah. And now, I believe, loading onto the Rift, getting into general defensive positions for both of these teams. Just a nice even spread. Everyone's parallel with one another. They've got those entries all evened out. They have their sights set on anywhere that these sort of wards and vision is going to be thrown out to see if they can sort of predict where the other's going to go. That's not going to happen because every single person knows exactly where the other is. It's almost like telepathic. Like, I know you're just across the river there.
Yeah, I mean, just at this point, like we said, these earlier starts with teams that don't play each other a lot, most of them aren't going to want to feel like they lost the game at level 1, right? So they just kind of draw the line of scrimmage there. No one's going to cross it. No neutral zone infractions this time around. Everyone's just going to play this one out evenly. Looks like both junglers may be sticking around their top sides. Now, that's interesting enough for me. You usually see the strong side start, especially for somebody like the Mundo in particular. But that blue buff, not going to be the strongest thing for him since he's on the red side. So starting with that red, interesting enough, but it's gonna be symmetrical.
Yeah, and I think that's a good thing to point on how both of these are approaching that jungle pathing. Like, the red buff not only helps you with the burn damage and the slows, of course, but it has that base health regeneration out of combat, which helps Mundo even more than what the blue buff would even apply. And then Jeremiah's is more of a defensive start where he expects Adam W to start at the red buff and then possibly force a just quick check in to see if Sejuani has taken her blue, because she is a little bit slower on that initial jungle pathing. So making sure that that doesn't get stolen away and then sort of converting to more of a bottom focused path as well is what Jeremiah is really trying to keep focus on. And Adam W just keeping that basic clear on the top side, max out to level 3 as fast as possible, and it's just sort of hard grind for level 6.
You gotta think too, this Ezreal Braum, it's a good lane for poking, but man alive, it has trouble pushing against the likes of a Kate Morgana. That's just one of the most offensive long-range lanes in the game. So even though Ezreal, no slouch in that regard, he's going to have his work cut out for him. And that Braum shield, it's a short cooldown, but certainly not short enough, it feels like, when dealing with these two champions in particular. So already, Hansha and Skarmory off to a very aggressive start pushing this one in the CS. The good news for Oreo is that he's managing it quite well, even though the harass is coming down on top of him. So like to see that one coming out. You mentioned Jeremiah the Fourth wanting to get this lane in particular rolling early. The good news is if they can hold out for themselves, they'll be no slouch into the scaling portion of this game either.
Yeah, and there's already an early ward out there to start as well. Skarmory threw his out right inside the river next to the try, but not inside the try, more specifically. Nice block there with the wall, unbreakable, just to make sure that that additional damage is not taken. And Oreo did go heal instead of teleport on the Ezreal, so he can't just go back, get a Tear of the Goddess, and then run straight back into lane. He will suffer CS if he does get pushed out as hard as he's been getting to it, where he's half health now, keeps getting hit by the pool. The Arcane Comet keeps on landing. And now Adam W actually looking for a peek, seeing where he can spot Jeremiah on this jungle.
Oh man, I think we just caught the edge of it, but Adam W almost getting Jeremiah taken out there. Was able to not quite hold off. The back did come through. Both those junglers playing a little bit of a diffusing game there in the bot lane, wasting a lot of each other's time, but they know it kind of cuts both ways. Pretty equal there this time around. Now we could have Ghost Barrels on a collision course here. And Adam W, not the healthiest yet. Does not have those regens that he needs just yet, so he's going to have to definitely call in arguments. There's the root, and I don't think too much more is going to come of this one. Nice stall up, all things considered. Good attempt at a run down from Ghost Barrels, and this is certainly going to waste the time of Adam W, in addition to securing them the Rift Herald here. I'm sorry, the Scuttler, to view the Herald Pit.
Yeah, it was a good call actually on Ghost Barrels because he has that early game priority, as we mentioned, with just sort of Kled's trading capabilities. So Kaiser on Aurelia playing a little bit more passively. And then going down to sort of check on that scuttle. Every time you have sort of an open lane and you have that massive priority, but you're not comfortable enough to like continue to push, always check your river, see if you can find the jungler. Just let your jungler know exactly where he is. And if you can start a fight, hey, might be a kill eventually, and getting you in that lead is all you need to sort of get into a winning position.
That's great League of Legends play, and it's necessary in a game like this where no clear advantage is being seen on either side of the board right now. All the lanes are, within about 5 CS of each other at the max right now. Everyone's playing around. The junglers are going to be the ones to really try to tip those scales, make that early difference, but could be in the top lane too. We got some bloodbaths coming through as both champions bring themselves quite low, but it is Ghost Barrels at the end of the day that feels like he got the worst end of that. The CS tipping back against him. He'll have to clear pretty well under tower here if he wants to maintain even, catch back up. I think he just might. But that's really aggressive play, and it's going very well for Kaiser Mord thus far.
Yeah, very planned aggression there from Kaiser Mord. He can wait it out. He still has the biscuits and went with the corrupting potion as well. So that sustainability, trying to get to a Phage or a Sheen as fast as possible and still be able to sit in lane with really no repercussions is really what the Aurelia is loving out of this matchup. And seeing Jeremiah on this bottom lane still reminds you that this is the name of the game for Embry, is to make sure that this bottom lane is able to survive. No massive turret plates are taken. They're only sitting on, I believe, only just one has been gone. They're only halfway through the second. So it's actually pretty good. Not bad for Embry's bottom lane, making sure that they can survive and not giving too much gold over to the side of Hansha and Skarmory.
They definitely don't want to let that one get out of control. Some great bindings thus far by Skarmory, even just popping off one to keep Jeremiah IV from engaging. He did have to just dash right back, and well, still holding down the fort, just waiting for Oreo to get back into a position here, and not a lot to clear on this bottom side for himself. So without the Rift Scuttlers, will be looking to kind of reset, maybe just get some of that vision down around the dragon. It is the Ocean Drake we talked about early enough onto the board, so we'll see if anybody wants to play for that. But the pings are coming down. They know he's in their jungle at this point, just wasting the plants. I like it. No wasted opportunity here.
Yeah, Kaiser getting a massive amount of hurt thrown onto him. You did have Ghost Barrels went back and got that teleport for the Ninja Tabby. He knows that he can sort of have the base damage to really trade with Kaiser. Just needs that extra defense to really sustain against the Conqueror procs that the Aurelia might throw out every now and then. And we were mentioning Adam W trying to see if he can sneak any camps away from the slow clear that Jeremiah has on the Sejuani. Gets a blue buff free of charge. No problems with that. He has that top lane vision control, and Jeremiah is going to walk into an empty camp and sort of shake his head and decide to take a Gromp for his taking.
Yeah, just get what you can get out of that one, of course. Junglers, the storyline thus far of the early game, maybe just a little bit further ahead, if you can even call it that, for the likes of Adam W. But longer way to go as well. He does have the first makings of that Cinder already finished up, which is so crucial for Mundo. You get in, you pop your W, and then I think it's a Burning Agony, and then all of a sudden it's just, you hurt to even stand around.
Yeah.
So he's hoping to get to that point pretty quickly, because before that, his ganks really aren't going to be that effective. He's hit level 6, but 6 for Mundo is not exactly the most fantastic ganking tool in the world. He'll get you a little faster. He can take a little bit more punishment, but it lacks the classic CC that every jungler thinks is so integral to ganking.
It does grant you some turret diving capability because you can sort of trade a little bit more, and he can sort of regenerate back up to more sustainable health and then sort of reassert back in after you force summoners in a way. So he can use that, but he can also solo dragons if he needs to. That's where it's more importantly going to be utilized with the regeneration. Make sure that if it needs be, you continue that. But with a bottom lane that has such massive priority like a Caitlyn Morgana, you can always have them come up and help you out with those neutral objectives, take those out. And, you know, if they're looking to pull a clutch gaming as it is, just rotate to the top side, get the Rift Herald, and then send it right back down. But there is action in the top side. Kaiser did force his ultimate.
Yeah, Ghost Barrels having to flash out of that one pretty aggressively. Teleport's still not going to be an option too. So if he has to go back, he's really going to be feeling this one. Now you do have Jeremiah on that side of the map if they want to try to force anything, but maybe has to play a bit more reactively. Knows Adam W still on that lower half of the map and probably doesn't know that he's in his own jungle. Not a lot of vision going on there just yet for Embry Riddle. Of course, Arizona State, the Sun Devils did secure themselves that first Drake. Big pickup there while we had some top lane fighting about going on. We did see Kaiser Mord pulling off the big play on Ghost Barrels. We didn't see that flash being burned by Kaiser Mord. I believe that was when Sejuani came up last time, Jeremiah trying to get this. And now, Adam, he's going to have to play pretty carefully to get out of this one, but the ult does connect, forcing the flash. Oreo's over the wall. Ace, can you get there in time? One Braum Q could really seal this deal away. Instead, he's going to go for the whole ultimate, but just like that, the Black Shield says no thank you.
Yeah, that's the power of the Black Shield on Morgana. It gives so much safety for those dives and even for those ganks that you catch him out. Doesn't matter if you don't have the magic damage to tear right through it, then you're not going to be able to catch that Mundo. And luckily, he had his ultimate down, so it was really necessary for that Morgana to get that Black Shield in there and get him out free of charge. The rest of the game, though, has started to sort of make some gaps here. Kronos in that mid lane, starting to encroach on a massive gold lead and a CS differential as Kaiser Mord still battering it out between him and Ghost Barrels. And again, bottom lane, Hansha and Skarmory, constant aggression. They might be able to get this final turret plate and destroy the first brick of the game, which is a massive gold upgrade here for an already almost 30 CS differential Caitlyn and Ezreal.
Yeah, I mean, you just have such a long range, prolonged siege bot lane that you can pull this out with, and it's not going to be this wave, but things are going wrong if it's not the next one now. Over on the other side, you do have the Rift Herald being started up. They want to find it, but holy cow, they're trying to get in. Nice tried by Adam W, but can he stay alive long enough? No, the first blood comes down and is followed very quickly by second as Jeremiah does fall. Rift Herald still barraging away in this fight, but it is Ghost Barrels now trying to play for his life, rolling back. But can he do it? No, Kaiser Mord picks up another.
And splendid actual move for Arguments to throw his jungler into that fight because it delays them long enough and it forces them off the Rift Herald to address the Mundo directly. So no one gains the Herald, no one loses it, and there's only one death on the side of Arizona State, and that was Adam W, which was that valiant sort of kamikaze style to make sure that Arguments and Kaiser were able to get there just in time to clean up the rest of the fight and get 2 kills for themselves.
They picked it up nicely. They also picked up the first tower in the bottom lane. So that puts them at a sizable, about 3k gold advantage or so, little less that they're sitting on this point in the game. Top lane, a little worse for wear as well as Kaiser Mord forcing the teleport out of Ghost Barrels. That's not what you like to see. Now he's going to have huge teleport priority as his own is going to come back up almost immediately. So things getting a little tight here for Embry Riddle. Ghost Barrels not going to face check the brush, doesn't want any of that, and means Adam W over here now. The Rift Herald getting started up. He's in clear vision of this. I don't know if he's baiting or if he's just what's going on, but either way, they're going to get in on top of him. He's already down very low. Ghost Barrels picks up the first, and we'll see if a fight breaks out on this one or if they just want to taper it on back. Rift Herald still being chewed down here, and it looks like Arizona State really aren't going to try to contest this.
That was really weird from Adam W. A questionable play because of the fact that he already knew going in, he threw in the cleaver, he was like, okay, we can probably take this one, walks into the pit, and he's like, oh, they have vision here. And he already had no vision on where Jeremiah was. He already didn't have mid priority because Kronos was pushing Arguments into his turret. And then same with Ghost Barrels. Ghost Barrels was up there and they were caught in mid rotation where they were throwing Hansha and Skarmory up to the top side and Kaiser to the bottom lane. So there was no way that ASU could have actually done anything to reinforce Adam W. So he just gave away a free kill and the free Herald.
Oh man, really tricky play here, and Yeah, that's not what you want to see if you are a Sun Devils fan. They do lose out a little bit on this. I like what I'm seeing with this decision to lane swap, though. We already know that Hansha and Skarmory have just rolled that bottom lane, kept all their plates, took the first tower in its entirety. They've already got a bit of a head start now on the top lane, so you just swap it out. You send Kaiser Moore bottom.
Yeah.
You just hope to kind of rinse and repeat this one out. The Dragon Control Drakes may be a little bit stickier now with both bot lanes being on the top side, but already back to their old tricks. We should see maybe even one more plate falling. No, won't happen before it times out. But meanwhile, a little bit of action coming around this Drake. Jeremiah tries to flash out, but can he get it in time? This is a big fight breaking out. Kaiser Mord, that's going to be arguments picking up the first one. Ghost Barrel's already low, and Kronos on the back line. Can he do anything to stop this out? Ghost Barrel's nice flash over the wall, will be followed, though. That's going to proc the Drake. They're going to get a stun. Can you get out of this one? Is it going to happen? Argument says no way. Picks up in the killing spree. Kaiser low, but not low enough as Kronos falls as well, and this should certainly be the Drake.
Splendid collapse there from ASU. The fact they were able to get in, find the catch onto Jeremiah, who also was just trying to get the vision onto the dragon, see if he could create some sort of defense, but you can't do that against an Aurelia who flashes straight in onto you. Same with arguments as well, being able to get that slow and snare down, and of course Adam W to secure those cleavers and get it to a point where no one could escape the jaws of Kaiser and arguments, and being able to take those kills, take the dragon, get that second one on the board for themselves, and a turret to boot in that top side. So at this point, for me, it's a little bit of a sour plan turn sweep, because we saw ASU's mental was, okay, we rotate top side, get Hansha and Skarmory in that top end so we could get the Herald and then get a turret and then rotate again for Dragon. But when they gave that away, gave Herald away, they had to try and find a grasp somewhere, and luckily they were able to do so right there in that bottom side of the map and pick up those 2 kills with the Dragon. So well done on them. Nice recovery.
2 towers in the hole, about 5k gold or so, splitting these 2 teams, favoring the Sun Devils as it stands. Embry Riddle need to start making something against these turrets. That's been their Achilles heel thus far. They've lost it, both of them, at the hands of Hansha and Skarmory, just blasting this one down. Now Jeremiah is sitting on the potential to pop off the Rift Herald at any given time. It's just a matter of picking that fight. And speaking of picking a fight, you may not want this. The chickens, a little bit of hostile territory there, but Ace does avoid the binding. Skarmory not connecting with that one, so should just ease this one off. But mid tower seems to be the focus that they want. They're just going to put this Kate Morg duo anywhere there's a tower that seems like it needs correcting.
Exactly. This is the power of the Cape Morgana, the fact that you can have such safe siege potential. You can push a wave in with the pool and with the Piltover Peacemaker, get into a point where they are crushed against their turret almost literally, and they just keep taking this free harass, and they don't have any signs of forceful engagement. You picked a Braum, which was more passive. Cassiopeia is short range, can't really do with anything.
Dive coming in, maybe. They want to find this. That's Rift Herald popped in the bottom lane, but meanwhile, they're going to need to worry about their own mid lane at this point. 4 members stacking for the side of Arizona State, and they're already starting to shred this one out just a little bit. Won't quite get to half health. Meanwhile, Kaiser doing what he can to save this tower and doing it well. Holy cow, picks up the first one, and Ghost Barrels already in some trouble. That's going to be bad news for this particular Kled, as he's getting charged right back to base on the double kill train. Huge pickup for Kaiser Moore to stop that one, and the rest of his team can roll on in mid.
Yeah, and without that turret falling, there's no gold recovered here for the side of Embry, and now possibly losing a 4th here in this mid lane. Luckily for them, I think ASU is deciding to step off for now, sort of just reset, get their vision under control, sort of make sure that they can find possible picks in the jungle and know the rotations of how Embry is going to try and react to their game plan. And from here on out, it's just the power of these solo laners. You've got Kaiser continuing to do that split push, sort of being supervised by Adam W, who is juggling himself between the lanes and letting arguments Hansha and Skarmory as well sort of push out that center and then really break open the game and map even more.
I like that you say supervised. That's definitely how I see the gigantic Mundo, just holding the hands of his solo laners, walking from point A to point B, saying, I'm the meat shield if you need it. He is his team's only 2 deaths. The other 7 kills for Arizona State are accounted only by the solo laners. There's not so much as an assist on the hands of Hansha or Skarmory here.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see because they've made such an impact throughout the rest of this game, obviously on the 3 towers that are no longer standing for Embry Riddle. So curious Little bit of stat padding there going on. Obviously, looks like this Caitlyn's just been farming, but farming turrets is a little bit more likely for Hancha.
Yeah, and what's fascinating actually is how this gold is spread out. Sure, it's 34,000 to 27,000, massive gap as it is, but the person with the smallest gap is Rise, is Jeremiah, and the rest of the team of Embry just decide to force onto Hancha.
They're going to keep going despite the ult miss, and they want Hancha, and damn it, they're going to get it. That's a shutdown coming in for Ghost Barrels. Meanwhile, more of the fight breaking out as the Glacial Fissure is down. They're trying to get more Kaisermord, getting in what he can on this one, but he is alone. There's not much help. He'll still get the kill. He's still unstoppable, but they managed to put a cork in it. Ghost Barrels picking it up again. Adam W. He's trying to get around this one, trying to stay in the face, but the Ghost Barrels on the backside thought he'd be cheeky. May have signed his own death warrant there, as Arguments is going to pick that one up. And now Ace and Oreo have to run out of this one. I don't see a way in which they can survive. Maybe try to save this turret, but certainly the fight has to stall out here for them.
Yeah, they're going to have to stall it out. The wave clear is still just enough with Oreo on that Ezreal to poke out, get some harassment, and then look to clear even faster than he can. Not even a completed Merman. I went straight for the Iceborne Goblin and Ninja Tabby because he knows he has to survive in these skirmishing fights. And sitting at this point where you are immensely behind, like I was mentioning, even though Rise is 5-0, he's actually the one with the smallest amount of gold deficit between the rest of the carries, just sort of overarching Caitlyn with getting that massive double kill in that previous fight. So sitting at this point where Embry is trying to just sort of staunch the bleeding as much as possible, it's at the point where there is no way they can really gain an advantage for themselves, a convincing advantage that is, unless there is a hiccup, unless there's a fumble there from ASU on the other side, because they can still throw out as much vision as possible, get as much safety into their own jungle to make sure that their lanes are in a just enough secure position to farm out and really push outside of their turtle shell that is now their base. But you can't even sort of look towards the river unless you are 100% confident that you know no members of ASU are there. Because if there's one member of ASU, there's might as well be 5, because Rise can throw every single person into that fight as soon as possible.
And look at the vision that's telling the story here on the map thus far. It's all centrally focused here around that mid lane and kind of central jungle points here for the likes of the Sun Devils. Embry Riddle, they're more worried about Baron. They know Baron means that this game is effectively over, and the damage is certainly there on the side of Arizona State if they're going to try to take it. Very well warded, so wouldn't go without a fight, and maybe that could be the opportunity to get into that hiccup that you were talking about earlier. If there's ever a place that League of Legends teams go to throw, it is, of course, the lovely Baron pit. This way, though, the tankiness they have on Adam W already, I don't see it as a terribly likely option. Would have to have everything going perfectly for the likes of Embry Riddle to hold that one through, and already they're getting harassed just by the Mundo, just by Adam W. He is single-handedly keeping these 3 members at bay. That kind of shows you a little bit of the mindset going through Embry Riddle right now and how scared they are to potentially have to engage this. Kronos, a little bit of an advantage in that bottom lane as he does have the teleport, could get to a full-on fight faster than the likes of Kaisermord, but does have to worry about getting, dove under tower as well should one break out.
Yeah, that, and people tend to forget how painful those Mundo-infected cleavers can get. The fact that they're based off of your current health, I believe it's 30% of your current health, he can just throw a cleaver at you, just chunks you for an immense amount of magic damage, and just keeps you on your toes. You always have to be playing dodgeball with Dr. Mundo on the other side, and that's the sort of the skirmish power that he has. And for the rest of the team of ASU, yeah, you get a pick, and the rest of that damage just comes so quickly.
Speaking of picks, almost, but they do get Ace in touch just in time with the stand behind me to make that one happen. Beautiful Braum play to hold his homie in regard there, and just barely saving Jeremiah the 4th from his 5th death.
Yeah, so that forces the recall from Jeremiah and opens up the Baron. No vision on the side of Embry, but they can sense it. Their spider senses are tingling, and you see the teleport come in from Kronos, looking towards this Baron. Yeah.
They're going to come in. There's the charge rolling down. They know they have to stop it, but they just peel off Baron for the side of Arizona State's, and Arguments parts the party already. Kronos does get one back on the Kaisermord, a huge pickup, and oh my goodness, look at this. Can Ghost Barrels do it on the charge? Hancha does go down, but now Jeremiah's trying to do what he can. Adam W just running it on the back line with a double kill. He'll flash for Oreo. That guy's the flash. The dash is on down, and Mundo is so hard to run away from. Goodbye. The double kill comes down.
That was such a beautiful ultimate from Kronos on Cassiopeia. He got 3, I think almost 4 members of ASU, but the Black Shield was kept Hancha alive just long enough to throw out just a bit more damage, and it was really just the goal differential and a massive stat check of ASU that made them throw the fight back into their favor. They're like, sure, you landed a great ultimate. Sure, you're able to pick off Kaiser Mord fairly early in the fight. You're able to get to Hancha, but that doesn't matter when we have 45,000 gold to your 36, and we have an 8-0 rise on arguments just burning through your entire team.
Just disgusting levels of dominance coming through by Arguments and Adam W. Those two in particular, so impactful in that last fight. Ghost Barrels, he is looking amazing, despite the fact that his team is in such a hole. He's been playing very well at a deficit, been playing around his objectives. They're 10K behind, and he doesn't look it, but he can't do it alone.
Yeah.
And that seems to be the position he's in at this point. 5-5-1, no slouch on the death count either. Tied for highest on his team. But he's got to be that front line, and it's just not paying off for him with the rest of the team's support coming through.
And this is the power spike for Kled as well, is at this 2-item sort of trough he's in. He has the Black Cleaver, he has the Titanic Hydra. This is as much damage as he's really going to get. He's going to go Sterix Gage third, I can see. So sure, he might have just a little bit of a bigger bolster, and then he'll get that massive shield that Sterix will be able to apply later on. But you're going to get to that point where once you have that item, it's not going to matter because Arguments, Kaiser, and Hancha will be able to tear through you and that shield like it's just paper. So not going to be really beneficial for him. He's hit that power. It's now looking to see if Kronos is able to get to a massive power spike. If he's able to get to that 4th item, which I'm very much betting against him getting there, then they'll have the capability to team fight effectively, tear people apart with the Cassiopeia poison, and then look for advantages where they are on an even footing. But they've got such a massive hill to climb, and that hill is constantly putting more weight onto them, and the boulders are coming down much heavier.
With that, a dragon is picked up. Still the Baron, not taken out of this one exactly yet. Adam W. holding this line. He knows this is exactly where he wants to play around. If the team can continue to threaten this one, that just gives Kaiser Mord, who now has teleport advantage, a huge ability to just go and rail on these bot lane towers should it come down to that. They're already just shy of 10K gold in the lead. An extra tower would make a very big difference here, and that means the Baron going to start up already here. I think they're banking on the fact that if the enemy team can see Hancha, well, then they know, okay, wait, hang on, this is getting started. They've scouted it out now with the True Shot Barrage, but is there anything they can do? I don't think so. This one's going to go completely uncontested over to the hands of Arizona State.
Yeah, it was unfortunate. Jeremiah did just recall to just sort of reinforce Ghost Barrels in that bottom lane after they saw Hancha, but that Ezreal check told him that that was a bad call, and getting the Baron with no contestation into a full reset. Gonna go back. Kaiser's still hanging on this bottom side because he doesn't really need to buy anything. He was only sitting on 2,000 gold. He could finish Titanic or Ravenous Hydra if he so sees fit. But at this point, going to the mid lane, they're just going to possibly just full 5-man clump themselves into a fist and punch a massive hole into the defenses of Embry.
At this point, they're certainly able. You could do the split push if you like to, and it looks like that may be what they try to set up with Kaiser Mord. Adam W. and his 4 bricks of health. You heard that right? Yeah. 4 freaking bricks of health is going to be able to buy so much time for this one to come through, especially if potential picks come through. Jeremiah the 4th does get hit up. No chance of getting out of that one. So now this is just perfect positioning here for the rest of Arizona State. They've got the split push just about to come online with the empowered minions. And now Adam W. happy to try to drive this one maybe, but realistically just buying time. Hancha and Arguments are going to be able to shred these towers. And now knocking on the door of the base. This is where things are getting just truly desperate for the likes of Embry Riddle.
Yeah, and I don't even think the split push is necessary. It's more of a safe fail than anything, because look at how fast they're tearing through these turrets. They could have Aurelia here to be even a bigger threat, but just making sure that she's on that side lane, constantly being that reminder in the back of Embry's head, being like, hey, if you try and all in on us here, which they're going to, someone's going to be able to split push.
They want it. It's now or never. They're trying to get an ace with a good glacial fissure, but
Teleport.
Argument's already legendary. Takes him on out. Jeremiah the Fourth just respawned, and he's just going back like that. Ghost barrels. His HP's not that strong. The double kill comes through, and will anyone make it back to the fountain? Oreo's going to try, but Oreo's going to die, baby. Huge pickup. The ace comes down, and just like that, Arizona State have made a statement against Embry Riddle.
And this is one of the reasons why Arizona State University, even though this is the B team, this is just a reminder of how strong their actual organization is, and the people that they have on it is everywhere is a threat. They could sub these into the varsity team, and I don't feel like I'd see much of a difference. But the way that they played together, the fact that Kaiser Mord and Arguments just did so well in their lanes, they did exactly what they needed to do to get to their power spikes in an efficient manner and overthrow the contests that they were dealing with. So well done on ASU's part. And for Embry, I saw some hiccups there in the jungle from Adam W that I think Jeremiah and the rest of Embry can exploit later on. But it will have to come down to the drafting again, because for me, the biggest weakness was that Ezreal Braum in the bottom lane. They read too far into being safe and not having any offense in their kit to try and push back against the Morgana and Caitlyn in that bottom lane.
Yeah, and I mean, you can see by their scoreboards, okay, 0, 2, and 4 for Oreo, 0, 2, and 2 for Ace. They weren't, hemorrhaging so many deaths, but the safe play did cost them, I think, in the end. It's a very great point you bring up there. 7 deaths on Jeremiah the Fourth as well. Definitely going to be looking to see some reform out of him in this next game to come if Embry Riddle wants to be able to dig deep and try to get this one in game number 2. Now, with game number 2 being mentioned, of course, we are going to give these guys just a little bit of a break, catch their breath over on the side of Embry Riddle, unpack that game, see where they can try to tweak it, maybe force a game 3. Same for Arizona State. Of course, they're going to be going back into that one, feeling pretty good, trying to close this one out. So we're going to give them a little bit of time. But when we come back, we'll be ready to go with game number 2. Don't go anywhere.
Sleep.
Well, thank you very much for sticking with us through the break, ladies and gentlemen. I'm still Kyle Corpus Crow. That is still Coco the Dragon. We are still in the middle of a series between Arizona State, the Sun Devils, versus Embry Riddle Aeronautical University. Excited players, as always, ready to get into game number 2. They've already started the pro draft here, and we're ready to get right underway.
Oh, yeah, and they just threw it out on us. The same purple style state, but this time Kaisa was able to make it through for ASU. So luckily for them, ASU having that actually sort of gives them a little bit of flexibility because of how powerful Kaisa is. So they can get a Kale here, they can get a Nautilus here if they want. Those are two massively OP compositions that you can match up with Kaisa, but it does give you some vulnerability, especially when you know Lucian and Leona are sitting on the other side. So even though you have that Nautilus, it's sort of a confidence check of, hey, what else do we want to grab? But, you know, Pantheon is actually a kind of a good decision, though. It being a strong flex pick, I don't know. I haven't casted much Pantheon. That's the problem because he's usually banned.
Sure,
So
Pantheon,
I'm gonna be
right,
like,
yeah.
I'm gonna be very excited to see how they actually
Excited
like
for
mesh
us.
him into this.
Yeah, obviously I'm a little bit biased, but I would love to see the Nautilus coming out
Hey,
from this one.
Astronauts.
Gotta
Heck yeah.
love it. One of the best skins in the game. And obviously with the Leona pickup, we won't see it from Embry Riddle, the Aeronautical University here, unfortunately. But I do like the Leona pickup. It offers just a little bit more, I think, safe aggression than we saw out of the likes of the Braum coming out for Embry Riddle last time, which was all just mitigation. Maybe this time it'll be a little bit more of that engage in the bottom lane that they needed to try to get the game going back in their favor. The last pick coming out is the Amumu. Hello, Sad Mommy. I have not cast this son of a gun in a long time, and I'm excited to see this one.
Yeah, I may have not casted him, but I have played him. I'm one of those people that likes to play Electrocute and Mumu jungle and then just like burst you down. Sort of like AP Malphite jungle, but has a little bit of a bigger hitbox on his ultimate. So it's most likely not going to be that to sort of disappoint myself, but you're gonna have
You're disappointing me
Aftershock most
now. You got me
likely.
all excited.
Hey, it could be Predator Mumu. I'd really like to see it. Just throw it down. Just have fun. Cause just build tank, just go Predator. That's it. Big brain style. But this time going into the second picks and bans, Vladimir gonna be gone, Maokai's gonna be gone. This is where those flexibilities are still gonna be thrown out the window. Zed might be the final ban for Embry or ASU. I think it was arguments that is a really good Zed player, but they do let the Karma ban off. So Karma ban is a little intriguing because I feel like they're scared of it because they're trying to plan something into their top side or try and negate the supports even more. But you already have Galio, which could be a potential support. So that's where the Karma, a little bit of an awkward side for me. And then the Vel'Koz is also one of those things where it's like they're expecting something to come out or they're expecting to pick something and they know that Vel'Koz is a hard counter and they just want that off the board.
You'd like to see it if it comes on through. Now, the Karma ban in particular for Embry Riddle does suggest they have something up their sleeve. They're going to pick up the Vi this time around, and something that we didn't see picked or banned last game. This time okay, you got the Vi, you got the Amumu together. See how that one does work out for them. Particularly, the Zed is still on the table. We saw them pick up the Kaisa for ASU. That was banned against them in the last one, but with the Yorick coming out, curious to see what this last pick will be for the Sun Devils.
So we did get a hiccup. Someone did misclick on the Embry pick. So Vi is not in there.
I was curious. Okay.
The many surprise because you're like, they already have a Moo in the jungle. What's going on? A Mumu top.
Top Vi, Mumu.
No,
Vi was originally designed as a top laner, keep in mind.
True, but it is going to be Urgot, actually. Vi is Urgot. Okay. So that's going to be going up against Yorick in the top side, which I actually give the advantage to Yorick because the shotgun knees on Urgot does not instantly kill Yorick minions. So if you're able to get in the trade, you actually are able to really batter down on him with Conqueror and then have that advantage. So it's all a question on if Yorick's able to land his E, get the ghouls onto him, and then really start to wail down on him. But Gnar is the final pick for Embry as well. So now you're like, okay, is that Urgot mid?
Yeah, okay. Some questions going on here, but yes, likely the Urgot mid coming through. Embry Riddle, an interesting team. Arizona State, a frustrating team, man. If you got to play against this thing, I'm already bashing my head against the wall. Yeah. Holy cow, Jarvan, Galio, Pantheon, Yorick, and then a Kaisa to top it all off. What a nightmare composition to have to play against. The good news is that it's not the easiest composition to technically pull everything off in. So if Arizona are a little bit cocky from last game, if Arizona State, are a little bit cocky from last game, they're kind of feeling themselves on that, oh, we can do anything. This Embry Riddle squad, especially the way they've drafted it, really could punish this. But if Arizona clicks, they're firing on all cylinders, this composition is just brutal.
Yeah, very true. So even though I had to do a lot of that clarification for that Vi matchup, and then Gnar sort of caught me off guard a little bit, but then remember that flex picks are the name of the game in this current season. It's something that you want to know exactly where those flex picks are going to go, and we're going to be finding out here shortly. You can expect mostly of where ASU is going to be throwing their stuff down. You're thinking Kaisa and Galio in the bot lane. Pantheon is most likely, I feel, going to be going in that mid, Jarvan in the jungle, and then Yorick on that top side. And then Embry trying to do some more countering. So Gnar is going in the top end. Urgot's going to be running into the mid lane. And that's going to be a little bit more doable with the Urgot matchup. And Yorick into Gnar, not as favorable. Gnar is really able to throw out harass and make sure that he can be nimble in his mini form to sort of maneuver around the minions. And then when he's ready, sort of try and jump in with the Mega Gnar formation. So Embry's draft, I really like it. It has a lot more tools in its kit. It's a lot more offensive, especially. So they have the gears to get rolling and then shift it into a higher mode and really pressure down. But so does ASU. And ASU has that late game security of Kaisa to just sit back, farm it out, and get to that Pyro Spike.
Both of these teams have so much potential for engage. A little bit more disengage coming through for Embry Riddle, and that's kind of what I like to see, is that they can kind of pick both sides of that fight, whether or not they want it or don't want it, whereas Arizona State's composition is just a little bit more, oh, hey, by the way, guys, we're all going in now. So curious to see if Embry Riddle can really play to the strengths that they've drafted themselves here, because you're right, it's a fantastic composition that they've put for themselves on the board here. I'm very interested in seeing how this bot lane holds up a little bit more. If they can play against that aggression, if they can get in the face of the Kaisa Galio and really punish Hancha and Skarmory with this one, they didn't ban the Caitlyn. It was an option to come through. They didn't want it. So Hancho Skarmory, they're feeling like they can probably take these towers with similar speed and conviction as last game.
Yeah, and even then, I don't even think that the tower game is the name of the game for ASU this time around in that bottom lane. It is definitely getting to those skirmishes. So we want to keep an eye on the bottom lane in these early levels. Once you hit level 2, level 3, that's when you're going to be looking at Oreo and Ace on that Lucian Leona to hit that go button, jump in on the Kai'Sa as fast as possible, and get that burst damage to where she is scared to try and sort of recuperate that damage back to you when she's able to get to those higher levels at level 4, level 5. So if they're able to get there, then that can sort of deviate how these junglers are going to pay attention to their bottom side, seeing it's like, oh, they forced a summoner. Let's try and get that dive going, because both these teams have that dive threat potential with Gallia and Leona sort of just being those Hail Marys, get that lockdown with the taunt or the stun, and then just get that kill security for their ADCs. And then the jungles as well, being able to have that on top of that. So bot lane story, pretty tell with how well these aggressions are going to go. And then mid lane is really sort of that interesting peak of, can Urgot sustain himself long enough to where he just overrides Pantheon's early game burst damage and then sort of flip the table back onto him? Because I wonder how, this is just a random thought that popped up in my head as well, because I haven't, like I said, I haven't really casted many Pantheons. I think Pantheon, if he has his shield up when you get suppressed by Urgot ultimate, if it is pointing at Urgot, he will not die by the execute. So that's just a like little interesting interaction that I want to see sort of like pop out. So if people catch it, please call it out so I know if it works or not, because I'm going to abuse it in solo queue.
Well, we'll see if this one does transpire. Of course, we are in the thick of the 3-minute delay, which means we're going to be throwing it to a quick break. But before we do, of course, want to tell you again about all the cool things that GameStop is doing here at GameStop.com/esports. They got the weeklies coming out. Arizona State, the A-team, recently crowned themselves king of those weeklies, their prize pool tournaments. GameStop doing a lot to support esports. All of them, of course, League of Legends, CSGO, Overwatch, Madden, Rocket League, Hearthstone, Smash, Overwatch, so many more. Overwatch on there twice. Why not? So much fun. It's, you got the different esports being represented here on different dates. So if you want to get involved with collegiate esports, definitely check that out. Again, that's GameStop.com/esports. But with that, we just got a little bit longer on this delay. We're going to kick it over to break. And when we come back, we'll have game number 2. Well, thank you for sticking with us through the break, ladies and gentlemen. We are ready to get into game number 2 here. We got a side swap, but the score is the same. Arizona State now on the blue side, sitting up 1-0, trying to put this game away. Embry, Riddle, Aeronautical, they're trying to claw back into this one, force us to a game 3 from the comfort of the red side.
I think that's a good word, force, for Embry, because looking at the composition, it is pretty much anything but to them. So looking into sort of how, again, this bottom lane level 2, level 3 power spike is going to be for Oreo and Ace. Getting into that jump, massive throw into getting damage onto Hantra as fast as possible so they are confident. But, you know, with early game plans does come early game shenanigans. Is Adam W making sure that Jeremiah not going to feel comfortable in his own lane?
Yeah, just trying to keep him off kilter here. We saw just the basic defensive line and scrimmage drawn last game. This game, well, we know Arizona State feeling a little bit more comfortable, competent around exactly what Embry Riddle might be trying to do. So they pretty aggressively hop up toward that. And just like last game, junglers seem to be ready to start on that top side of the map. Nobody wanting the strong side start thus far.
Yeah, and it's something where I think Jeremiah has to sort of spice it up again, because even though this time Adam W is on Jarvan, who's a little bit easier to execute as a jungler outside of Dr. Mundo that he played previously, he has to always look for that aggression in the early stages. And if Jeremiah playing that Amumu has a very visible and also very weak early game start as well, just like the Sejuani previously, but in a more exaggerated scale, you don't want to be doing that when Adam W can just walk into your jungle and then just burst you down with that massive damage that Jarvan's going to be able to have. So mixing it up, playing it a little bit safer, going for those quick clears, and making sure that you're always in a place where your team can help you out if the time arises is really what's going to be good. But like we said, Adam W going to try and find any way to exploit it, and he jumps straight over from one blue to the next and is taking that one already.
Yeah, he definitely wants to find that blue early, keep them off kilter there. Beautiful play. Adam W, he was where he needed to be very consistently last game, so no surprise to see him trying to get up to the same tricks this time around, and perhaps a gank in the bottom lane should he want it, but they're maybe a little early to it. Skarmory quite quick on that taunt, but Ace not able to get out in time. The flag and drag is flashed out of, and the heal, will it keep him alive long enough? No way! The Kaisa picking it up with the first blood from downtown. They're trying to get more. I think Oreo's out of this one okay, though. Well, I say that.
What?
Oh,
what?
You're kidding me. You're kidding me. Adam W, you're going too hard. In the yard. That one stuck out, and Oreo picks up a kill for himself.
Oh my goodness. Bless your heart, Oreo. You lucky man. Being able to get a free kill after a pretty smart and coordinated gank came in from Adam W. Like, did that quick jungle, blue to blue, try to make a really awkward path for the side of Embry to try and calculate, and then picking that up. Okay, now you have the demolish, so you're going to be able to get some more gold onto Hansha, especially with that first blood being procced. You already have 1,000 gold after 20 CS, so wonderful job for them on that bottom side. But let's look for a little break and look at these solo lanes right now. They're sort of going as expected, with Ghost Barrels having a slight advantage over Kaiser Mord. But that Pantheon here is struggling against Chronos just because of that natural beefiness that Urgot has, and is able to just sort of deal with the damage that Pantheon is able to try and throw out, intermixing with the CS game that he has.
Now, that is, of course, after a backhand teleport into lane. Chronos was affected a little bit by the early power spike of arguments, just getting that full combo together. He felt that one, but after being able to come back is, holding his own quite considerably in this lane, and doesn't really have to worry about using that teleport so liberally because, well, guess what? Arguments doesn't have a teleport to match, so advantage is not really something to worry about too heavily there, and you're the mid laner, so if a dragon fight breaks out, it's like, okay, well, I'm, 8 seconds away, so just get right there very quickly. So Chronos doing what he needs to in this lane. It's netted him about a 10 CS advantage, give or take, depending on the state of the lane, of course, and meanwhile, the top solo lane, well, it's going well in CS for Ghost Barrels, but, he is a little bit lower on the HP front, and with Jarvan lurking in the wings here, Adam W, can he get what he needs? The flag and drag hopped out of so easily, says no chance, and dances right on off back to tower.
Yeah, so this is just the safety that Ghost Barrels will have on that Gnar, but hold on.
Oh, boy.
Fight here in mid.
Yeah, we got something breaking on down, ready to go towards this mid lane. Not enough, and now maybe the top they want more as well. They're just jerking us all around on this side of the map. Ghost Barrels trying to keep the attention, says, no, look at me. I'm the one to focus on. I'm trying to get in the face of Adam W. That's what he wants, but maybe not what he's going to get. Now Kronos trying to turn this one back on its head, onto arguments, but Jarvan just off in the corner. Adam W, can he get here to turn the tide of this one? Under tower, forces the flash, and that'll be the end of that.
God, mad commemorations there for Adam W. Like, he's constantly in a lane trying to force something out of these opposing laners. Adam W actually, though, getting caught in transition because you had Oreo and Ace push their lane in really quickly because they have that advantage, and then try and see if they could reply to any of these signs of aggression that the side of ASU has been throwing out. Kaiser Mord using all of his mana here to just push Ghost Barrels away. Luckily, with the Meganar, he sort of gets a slight heal back into his pool to sort of make sure that he can still stay in the lane, play safe, and play it cool. So both the sides in that top end doing what they need to be doing, almost to the letter at that point, where York forces away Gnar when he has the chance and when he's sort of pushed against the wall, and then Gnar sort of replying as soon as possible. Arguments, nice.
Yeah, this is aggressive from Jeremiah. He's going to take some damage for that one, but at the end of the day, they're able to force a flash, even if that second tower shot brings him within an inch of death here. Can you get out? Meanwhile, in the bot lane, we got some fighting going on as well as Ace actually going to find Skarmory off the tick. Are you kidding me? Just the last edge of that, and now Gnar here, well, they know they want to get it. They're trying to. Hansha just absolutely was trying to get the last little bit there, but Oreo will make it out alive. Ghost Barrels with the teleport coming up huge.
Wow, amazing job here from Embry, being able to coordinate just a little bit on that mid side to look for the gank, force the flash, do get out alive so that some of the luck on their side, and then that teleport from Ghost Barrels, seeing that they were able to get the kill, and that Hansha was on his own, picks up that second one, the first one for Ghost Barrels on this one, making it 3-1, but the gold still stays even just because of the turret plates that have been taken for Kaiser Mord and for Hansha, especially with that first blood. So now you're at this point where it's like, all right, cool, this aggression is starting to come into an effect and start to bloom for these lanes, but how are they going to be able to convert it once those turret plates are gone, once Rift Herald has been summoned? So going into those neutral objective zones where there aren't those turrets to help out these teams to really tear each other apart.
Curious to see how that one does unpack itself here, but big pickups for Oreo and Ace in the bottom side here. I definitely like what I'm seeing out of the composition of Embry Riddle. The gold wings this time maybe finding themselves looking skyward a little bit, trying to get back into this game, and like we said, push us to a third and final in this series. Arizona State, it did take a little bit longer to get rolling in game number one there, and it wasn't really until they had all three outer towers down that they felt like they were in such a commanding lead of the game that they could just kind of go wherever they wanted, do whatever they want. Now, a lot of that was predicated on the fact that they did have Mundo and had to worry about his HP in particular. This time, not as much in that regards. Adam W playing the Jarvan, playing something that wants to find those more aggressive early engages that's just going to take you right out of the game. But I have to give props to the side of Embry Riddle for playing around this one very well. And they've done it with their solo laners. It's not exactly been Jeremiah the Fourth that's been coming in every time. Like we saw the teleport coming out from Ghost Barrels. We saw Kronos getting in and just pulling people to his lane. So if they can really make something of Jeremiah the Fourth, I'm excited to see what the Gold Wings can do here.
Well, one of the big differences for me is, hold on, actually Jeremiah looking for another gank.
Yeah, speaking of it, no flash this time. The root is down, but the HP just not there. And now Jarvan with the Cataclysm turns that one right on its head.
Yeah, the extensive damage reduction coming in from arguments on that empowered E, making sure that he lives long enough just to make sure that he can keep himself alive for Adam W to come in. And I was just discussing on how the difference between game one and this game here for ASU is that the matchups aren't as definitive and drawn in the sand as they were from the previous game. So like, even though yes, York will eventually outscale Gnar, it is still a skill matchup for most of the time until you get to a point where you are almost unkillable with 3-4 items on that York. Like even now, you see him having a spaghetti fight back and forth, but Ghost Barrels can always turn it with that hyper sort of damage threat that he has. And then the same goes with that mid lane. We just saw how Kronos and Jeremiah technically have that kill threat potential, but arguments can still sort of manage it with being able to manipulate his passive, always have the advantageous skill empowered and ready to where he can really get that execute. So a little bit more of a gray matchup does slow the game down even more, but it also makes it a lot more bloody because of how both of these teams can just turn fights on a dime.
Dragon coming down now, maybe going to be attempted to steal away, but I don't think so. They just have to let that one go. Definitely don't want to just hop into the pit with the Galio. Adam W, he was busy in the mid lane as Kronos is pretty comfortably 1v2ing this one out. They know they have to back it on off there with the Leona lurking. Flash ultimate changes the tide of an entire fight so quickly. And it's not going to be the case. They're just going to pick up the Rift Scuttler right after the fight. Say, you know what, hey, this division's just, for a little later. See you, though. Back off to your lanes, and everyone should get back to this one without too much more bloodshed. It's just a matter of whether or not Adam wants to come in for a mid gank. He's certainly toying with the idea.
Yeah.
There it is. The Cataclysm comes down. They want it. It's just on repeat, simply on cooldown. Kronos going to try to back off of this one, but there is a limit to that, and Adam W's found it. Kronos goes down. They turn it back on its head for Hancha in the bot lane.
Yeah, so still blood going out left and right. The Dragon as well was taken while we were sort of discussing earlier on, being a Cloud Drake, and Skarmory here on his own. They could look for a dive just because Skarmory doesn't really have that much massive defense. Sure, he's got a health pool, but won't really matter when you have 3 people battering you down with percentage-based health. DPS, and Ghost Barrel's still on this top side. So still, 11 minutes in, Rift Herald is started. You can see on the minimap that Adam W is sort of trying to sneak that under the nose because he knows that Jeremiah is down in that bottom lane, so he can sort of get that free of charge. The question now would be if Adam W looks to convert that into a lane before the turret plates fall and get some extra gold onto himself, or if he decides, let's hold on to it, let's see which lane is really going to break open, and when it does, really force it with that Herald.
Gotta pick that one very carefully here, but Ghost Barrels maybe in some real trouble. Does hop out of that one, but will be chased thoroughly deeply into this one, so say goodbye to these turret plates as the Rift Herald is absolutely going to be knocking down the first tower of the game here, going all to the credit of the Arizona State Sun Devils.
Yep, and almost an immediate reply, but hold on, Jeremiah. I saw that ultimate down there.
We all saw it. No hiding that one, buddy. Skarmory's trying to taunt under tower. Hancha, can you get the kiting? The damage is there, and doesn't quite hurt as bad as the knowledge of that ultimate coming through. And maybe this top tower again going down as well. This one's just rough.
Yeah, like I said with the Rift Herald decision, is either look for a little bit of turret gold or really try and force open a lane being broken open. He got like both of them immediately when he got that Herald, because Kaiser Moore got onto Ghost Barrels with his minions, got the E, really tore him apart, just messed with it. But
3 charges, he couldn't stop it in time. Wow,
yeah,
that one hurts. That's a moral sting right there, Ghost Barrels. Yeah. He had such an impactful game on the Kled last time. This one, the Gnar, he's got the scoreboard already off to a start, but CS not in his favor, and certainly his lane is in shambles now.
Yeah, and luckily we still haven't hit a point where Kaiser Moore can actually go back and get the Triforce. He's just a few hundred gold off, so he's trying to farm those Krugs on the top side and see if he can get just a little bit more gold under his belt to do that. But it does come in a consequence that Ghost Barrels is right on your tail trying to force you off of it. So sort of resets onto your sentence, and you have to sort of shake your head disappointing, be like, I could have just gone back and gotten like my team's Gromp and had the same effect, but I have enough gold anyways, so I'll be lucky to walk it off and be okay with it. So the rest of the map not really affected. You've got a massive 3,000 gold differential, which at this point is pretty much just those recipe completions. It's not something for the team that is major in one specific department, but it's just those finalizations of that first item power spike. Like I said, with the Trinity Force, Black Cleaver, the Man Immune as well for Hancha. It's just those finalizations where you still have to wait a couple more minutes for the side of Embry to really get to that point.
Well, speaking of power spikes, we saw about this point in the game last time is when Arizona State really started to come online for themselves. It was right when they got that second to third tower area. Well, guess what they're knocking on the door of right now? Sitting heavily on some gold, actually, about 1,200 for arguments in the mid lane. 1,600 for Skarmory now in the bot lane. Make it 18 with that tower picked up as well. And a no-slouch 1,500 coming for Hancha. So we should see these guys coming into their own quite heavily. Maybe the likes, can they stop this back? No, not going to happen. So should be just back ready to get it right in time for this dragon. And it's an Infernal, so you know they want to fight it. What better way if they can pick off Jeremiah early? Arguments and Adam are both in on it. Ace trying to get him out of that one, and the Ignite's going to take him low, but is it low enough? Just barely, no. Does survive, but now Dragon, really tough. He's got a boogie back.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a close call there for Jeremiah, but is a perfect timing. He will be able to run back and get to the dragon before it really fully spawns, so they'll have that ultimate from Amumu to really try and contest. So you have to look at where Kaiser Mord and Ghost Barrels are going to be, because if Ghost Barrels is able to sort of hang around in the lane, he does have teleport available, so I think he just sort of tries to freeze this top side as much as possible, because you want that Mega Gnar ready. But actually, Embry decides to just call it off, say, you know what, Infernal, first one, we can let it go for now, but we have to make sure that we can slow any more style as it is. But, you know, you can't do that when you're forced out and ASU just jumps on you.
Yeah, they're trying to get in, not quite in enough time, and good instincts by Embry Riddle to get the hell out of dodge on that one. But meanwhile, Kaiser Mord, he could be in trouble. Oh, doesn't hit the bandage toss, and that might cost Kronos his life. Just barely staying alive at the edge of that one, and now Hero's entrance is going to be there. Jeremiah in a little bit of trouble. The suppression, the comeback, shut down, baby! But Jeremiah's down behind the line. Skarmory picks up that one, and more to come as Oreo gets a nice kill back to Skarmory.
So lucky Kronos getting out by the actual single digits on that Urgot. But
they're not done. Ghost Barrels is down. Oreo, though, can he make the play on this one? Adam W goes in. He wants blood. He got it. But his own is found on the ground as well.
Oh my goodness, still kills coming down, making 5 and 7 for a total. It still feels like there's been more kills. It just feels like it with how these comps have been playing out, but everyone's been getting out with just little slivers of health and sort of coming back into the fights ready to go. So into this mid game, 16 minutes in, you're looking at the turret lineup. You still have sort of a familiar aftertaste of game one. 3 turrets for ASU, 0 here for Embry. And how does Embry really try and not repeat history? How do they grab some turrets on their sides? Because most of those kills that they have, even though it is in their favor just slightly with those 2 kills, mostly Oreo's 3 and 0 lineup, it's something where they don't have that siege pressure and they're never in a place where they can actually push and really bring a definitive consequence to ASU. Yes, they got the kill, but it was because they were getting dove. Yes, they got the kill, but the side waves aren't in a proper position to push for those turrets, or they have a neutral objective that was taken by ASU. So they have to look for some sort of actual offensive play to really try and get this into a favorable position for them.
Definitely need to pick something quickly, and I think it comes down to trusting Oreo. He's having a much better game on Lucian here, but if Adam and Arguments can shut this one down before it even starts by taking out Ace, well, that just seems to be the play here. Oreo not going to be in much position to do anything without his support. So that's very easy for them to pick up, get him out when he's caught like that, and really set back the side of Embry Riddle.
Yeah. And the other problem is you can't continue now. You're playing these laning phases in 1-3-1 as it is in that bottom side, because you'll keep getting picked by Adam W and Arguments. They are a kill duo.
Cataclysm down. Oreo has to flash out, but does go down for that one. Not able to do it, and that means Arguments is going to be killing spree. Picking up Jeremiah the 4th on that one. The second kill. I'm sorry, the second death for the Amumu jungle this time around. And it looks like the Sun Devils are finding a particular comfortable stride against the Gold Wings.
Yeah. And this, again, it's something where it's just the pick composition that ASU has. They are playing it perfectly, and now Embry, even though they made a much more aggressive composition that has the capability to find kills, they're not executing it right. This is a team fighting composition. They want to get into the faces of ASU, get a movement to land an ultimate so he can help set up for Ace to follow up, or vice versa, and make sure that Urgot and Lucian are able to get that massive burst damage that they have that is still very team fight ready. So it's something where they're either not in that position to ever do so because ASU is playing the map right, which is the correct answer, or something where they are not fully understanding where they're at in this game. So it's at this stage where 19 minutes, you have Baron coming up soon. You need to buckle down, remind yourself why you drafted this composition, and then execute it properly, because again, it's that point where you need to find a forceful fumble from ASU to really sort of get that definitive advantage back into this game.
It's a long and arduous process for Embry Riddle. The Gold Wings need to get themselves straightened out very soon here. Oreo, I think, still has the potential to really duke it out with just about anybody on this team against him here. The items are not so foregone at this point. One good fight could not turn the tide. If Jeremiah the Fourth can really, I think, hit what he needs to as this Mumu and get a grouped up section there, there's just a chance to wreak havoc. The team composition is still so good for the likes of Embry Riddle if they can pull it off. Their smart draft has kept them alive definitely longer in this particular game. But now is the time. Their backs are against the wall, and they need to find it. And you just really haven't been seeing it come out, I hate to say it, but mechanically from the jungler in particular on the side of Embry Riddle.
Mm-hmm. But still, you gotta give a hand to ASU. Like, they are playing this game perfectly. Looking for another pick. They have the side split going as well with the Kaiser Mord. And it's really fascinating on how it goes down, on how some of these teams really struggle with these 4-1 styles. Because Nara, yes, he can split push, he can skirmish effectively, but he doesn't do it as well as Yorick does. And that is really one of the crippling factors in this, where it's sort of it's screaming at Embry to play the game differently. Don't play ASU's game, because ASU, you're doing a wonderful job. Keep up the great work. Yes, it's bloody. Yeah, you're 8-7, and it's not as massive as you think it is, but you have a 6,000 gold lead. You have an Ocean Drake to boot. You have neutral objective security with the Kaisa to take out this Baron quickly, even with a just forceful engagement from Adam W and Skarmory to just jump onto the backline and get their tanks into the thick of the fight as soon as possible is something that ASU perfect draft for how they want to play this game, and then running it and executing it in a correct fashion.
Yeah, I think to win or lose, if you're Arizona State, when they're going back and they're watching the VODs, the tape on this one, just, the decompression, the learning experience. Hey, what did we miss? What did we get right? What did we guess on that turned out for us here? They're going to be really happy with the way they've played this game up to this point. And certainly I think their hand is on the throttle. They can really just drive this one out throughout the rest of this game, take this series pretty cleanly. It's going to take some coordination. You talked about it being bloody. They've definitely given up, I think, what they would consider too many unnecessary deaths at this point. And
their coach definitely saying that.
For sure. And Oreo's to a point where that's not comfortable, right? You don't like that. You do have the CS advantage. You're going to have a gold advantage on that just particular bot lane matchup, about 8,200, 8,300 to about 8,200. So it's only 100 up. Adam W, though, hang on. We got a little bit of a fight breaking out. We'll finish this thought later as Adam W wants the fight. They want to get it. Jeremiah is low, and so many members just materializing for the Sun Devils. Skarmory gets the first kill. Kronos is down and out. That's Jeremiah as well. Bad news for Ghost Barrels. He's behind enemy lines in his own jungle, and that means a double kill coming down. More to come, perhaps, as Ace is just trying to get out of this one. Flashes over the wall, but he's got the party chasing him on down, baby, and that's going to be Kaiser Mord picking that one up. Hugely done. Oreo, the only survivor.
Absolutely amazing collapse there from ASU, knowing that they had the fight, they could take it, and all of their members could get there in a blink of an eye. You had the Kaisa come in with her ultimate, same with Skarmory on the hero's entrance, and with literally every single person. The teleport from Kaiser Mord, everyone got there instantaneously. Even though I appreciate that Embry was able to get into the fight, they said, we need to start a fight, we need to find a pick right now for this Baron to just try and find that hiccup that we're looking for. They didn't have all their members there. They only had Jeremiah and Kronos really available. Ghost Barrels was late to the party, and same as Oreo and Ace. They were just sort of in the back lines even after ASU was already all 5-man in and tearing people apart. So they didn't have the tools to do it, and that was really what broke them down in that fight and started to open up this game here, getting close to a 10,000 gold lead for ASU.
It's just so daunting here. 23 minutes. 9K gold in the hole, knocking on the door of that 10K, like you said, and just devastating play by the Sun Devils here to really roast the likes of the Gold Wings. They're in some real trouble here with the Baron now constricting upon them, and I don't see this one getting any easier from this point. There was the time with that fight, and Arizona State, they just beat Embry Riddle to the punch. It just what seemed like every turn they were just kind of popping up. Oh, here's another member. Here's another member. Here's another member. Surprise, we're all here. And Embry Riddle could not get in time. Ace unable to do Leona things. Jeremiah unable to do Mumu things in time. And Ghost Barrels and Oreo, the real heart of this damage, what you feel like, not there to collapse on top of it all. So very well done by the Sun Devils, and now Arizona State with this Baron, you can just feel the constrictions coming together.
Yeah, the other thing too, I've been keeping an eye on this as well for a while. Didn't want to bring it up, but it's gotten to the point where it's a major concern for me. Is the fact that Jeremiah hasn't completed a single item yet.
Oof.
He's still sitting on just the items for Leonji's tournament, and then he has the Warden's Mail. Like, you have tools that make you beefy, but you don't have anything to actually convert something to a fight. It's like, okay, cool. I don't have anything to really solidify a kill. I have stuff to complement. But you don't need complementary things right now. You need definitive, like, nail driving decisions. And going in with the turret dive, like, this isn't going to be enough damage for you to survive.
No, they're going to try to hold this one out, but it's just everyone everywhere blasting the likes of the Gold Wings. There's nothing they can do to hold out on that one. And Gnar dying elsewhere on the map means that it's only the bot lane duo, Oreo and Ace, left to defend this. It's just not going to happen. The inhibitor is going to get taken out. No way they can hold this one together, as they're just running back to Fountain. Try to buy what you can, try to heal up where you can, and maybe make a last stand here, but it seems like Arizona State are out for blood.
Oh yeah, they're not looking for blood. They're looking for bricks right now. They want these turrets gone and away from their site. They want to make this a final and clean 2-0 sweep in this series.
Oh, they're definitely putting together the pieces they need to make that one happen. The respawns are through, but Oreo trying to hold what he can just at the very edge of this one here. Jeremiah the Fourth not able to hold what he wants to together. They're just trying to fight on the Fountain Steps of Suppression. The kill will at least shut down the Kaiser Hansha out of this one. And arguments, what a boosted fight we're seeing here as Kaiser Moore goes on the killing spree. They're trying to get more Skarmory. Not able to hold it, and just like that, Arizona State, they fumble the ball at the 1 yard line, it seems, and the fight, well, it's Embry Riddle living to fight another day.
Yeah, like you said, Arizona fumbled. They tripped over themselves. They really got into their heads and broke down right at that 1 yard line, but it is still the 1 yard line. They can just move an inch. All they need to do is make one subpar play, or even just throw their bodies into the line and just be okay and get the Nexus and call it a day for themselves. Like, yeah, it's a problem, but it's one of those plays where it's like you look at that and the coach is definitely shaking his head like, you could have just ended the game right there, or you could have just played it safe, played it cool. But yes, I understand the ego of going for the stat checks, going for those KDA pad stats and getting as many kills as possible, but it's somewhere where it's riding the line of this could have been it. It could be a point where if we continue to play that style of just like all-in blind aggression, which it hasn't been for this entire game, that was like the only hiccup that they've had. So it's just like, all right, reset. All right, let's finish this game, clean off. We've got our stats padded. End it in for official clean.
Yep, just marching right on down the mid lane, trying to finish this one off for good. One inhibitor down. They actually didn't even take the mid lane inhibitor. They have every tower on the map at this point, and Ghost Barrels actually just completed a stopwatch a second ago. So you can tell they're really looking for one big engage to come through. But maybe Adam W is going to try to find it first. Ghost Barrels is out. They avoid the hero's entrance, but this is the Pantheon ultimate coming down as well. A big stun up onto Ghost Barrels. Can they find it? This is the dig deep. Can you do it again, Embry Riddle? They're certainly going to try, but that's one stopwatch pop. Now this is a big one for Ghost Barrels as well. Kaiser Moore being pulled back into it. Ghost Barrels going to go down. Hansha finds that one. Jeremiah the Fourth is next in. It's the double kill. More to come. Embry Riddle is in so much trouble as Kaiser Moore slays Oreo. And the Gold Wings, they flew too close to the Sun Devils and were just melted at the very end here. It's going to be Arizona State taking this one in two.
Oh, man. And yeah, that was the actual play that I think they wanted to go with. They had the ults ready. They had the fights going for it. So took it with a more definitive standard this time around, luckily with the engagement. So for them, you look at ASU through this entire series, and you just got to give them a pat on the back. And more specifically for me, you got to give our boy in the mid lane a massive applause. Arguments 7-1-9 on this Pantheon in the second game. And I believe the first game he was 8 or 9-1. I don't even think he actually died that game. I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure
it might have been 10-0. It was 10 kills for sure. He broke the 10 threshold. But yeah, I would have to double check on that one. I don't have my notes in front of me as it stands, but either way, just dominating play coming out from the likes of Arizona State. And speaking of Arizona State, we got our winner's interview ready here to go. Why don't you introduce yourself for us?
Hey guys, I'm Coach Colomer. I coach the ASU D2 team.
All right. Awesome. So hello, Coach. Glad to have you with us here after a very decisive 2-0 sweep of, a state neighbor, if you will, Embry Riddle there. How did it feel taking that one against these guys? Do you know the team? Do you have a relationship with that school?
Not specifically, no. Always feels good to beat a team that's 3-0, though. They were on top of our division right now. And our goal is just to win every single game week to week. So always good to take a game off an undefeated team. And the fact that we're in the same state as them is just an extra plus.
Sure. Now, as the coach here, you saw, I imagine you were watching the spectator view, right? Or were you with your players seeing the half blind? Were you watching everybody or just your guys?
Nope, I was just watching spectate and stream.
Gotcha.
So,
okay.
Same as everyone else.
Were you fairly satisfied with the way that your guys played here? Do you have quite a few notes for them here? Do you feel like this was at your level, a little above, a little below? What's kind of usual?
I think like compared to our potential, this is really below. We've definitely played some really good teams. Obviously, like those guys at Embry Riddle, they're a good team. But definitely there's stuff that we have to go back on and make improvements on. We just hold ourselves to a super high standard. Our average scrim partners, top 25 team in the country and stuff like that. So we try to hold ourselves to that same standard, and that's kind of what we're shooting for this year. So obviously there's always going to be stuff to improve on, especially noting game 2. But overall it was an okay game, but I know my guys, they'll want to make improvements as well.
Talk to me about the in-game leadership. Who's making the shot calls? Who's making the decisive decisions here for the team on the fly as this is kind of unfolding?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, it always helps to have a designated shot caller. And since this is the first time all these guys have ever played together, it's kind of, we spent the first couple months of this year trying to figure that out. A lot of the credit goes to our jungler, Adam, for the early game calls. I promise he doesn't make plays at Herald like that often, like he did in game 1. But yeah, I mean, everyone really does contribute, though. Obviously, jungle has say on early game. Jeff is a great shot caller for late game and trying to make for those engages as we're trying to end the game out. Mahad, when he's split pushing, or Kaiser Mord, he does a great job of kind of directing the team on how the side lane split is going, but everyone contributes.
Sure. We saw 2 Mord bans being drawn out by Kaiser Mord himself. Is that pretty lock, stock, and barrel for y'all, permanently banned?
Yeah, I mean, the couple times that hasn't been banned has really gone well for us. In the AVGL tournament earlier this year, I think Kaiser Mord was like 4-0 against it. We played against Robert Morris, which everyone knows they're a great school, great competition, and we 2-0'd them. So for the most part, as people kind of scout us out and learn more, definitely it helps because all our guys have certain champions that they're just absolutely insane on. I mean, Mahad is kind of like our mini version of Kevin, who's our A team's top laner, who most of the time that he plays, he draws 5 top lane bans for the A team. So he's getting there. Maybe he needs maybe we'll add Irelia and a couple other top laners to that list with Mordekaiser.
Wonderful to see. Now, I do want to just cycle back to something you mentioned briefly earlier. Robert Morris University, I assume that's the JV team you were playing up against that you 2-0'd, correct?
No, it's the varsity team.
Oh, the varsity team. Okay, so fantastic. Yeah, fantastic. Little bit of a stat pad there, a little clout for yourselves there. Just to throw out to everyone listening at home that may not be familiar, Robert Morris's JV team actually won the entirety of the CSL League of Legends season this last year back in April. So definitely no slouches when it comes to that school. So certainly, I think quite a bit of a garnishment for respect to you and your school there.
Thank you.
Coco, do you have any questions for Coach?
Yeah, actually, because like it's gotten to a point where for me, I think in most of the regions or most of the scrims that you guys are having, are you guys starting to see sort of a collegiate meta start to throw out? Like your composition here in game 2, for example, very aggressive, all in. You have a split push security as well. Are you seeing that almost like region wide, or is it more centralized, still sort of like familiarizing with the world's meta where it's still late game scaling, flex picks in that case?
I'd say that, I mean, and we kind of have some good insight because we scrim like crazy. We scrim 4 nights a week normally on top of playing CSL and stuff like that. My guys have an amazing work ethic for when it comes to that kind of stuff. I would say that a lot of the times it just depends. Teams with really good coaches, they kind of realize that the collegiate meta is not the same as the world's meta. And then teams that necessarily they kind of just see what Faker is playing and they're like, oh, I can play this mid lane. Yeah. But yeah, I think collegiate always has its own meta. I mean, the teams aren't as coordinated. That's something even we worked on. You guys saw those. We definitely could have ended those games faster if we had played cleaner and stuff like that. It's why split pushing is such an effective strategy in collegiate. But definitely teams started to form their own meta, and the more that you play and the more that you scrimmage against good teams, you kind of find your own way about it, which I feel like has been our main advantage. Is just, as a group. Because I don't do draft by myself. Obviously, I take insight from my guys, and they give me feedback, and they're the ones who get the final say on what they pick. I just kind of help them get to that conclusion. But I definitely think that the meta is kind of on its own in collegiate, and we have a good grasp of it, and that's why we're a good team.
Yeah, I think that was a great, because my follow-up question was going to be like how well you are sort of meshing with the organization at ASU. Like, how much do you communicate with the players? How's your relationship with them? How much do you communicate with the JV and the varsity team on how they sort of scrim each other and sort of improve and sort of iron sharpens iron style in ASU?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, not gonna lie, A team is just insanely good. They're one of the best teams in the country, and I feel like that's just plainly obvious. So when we scrim them, it's a lot more of not necessarily trying to win, but trying to focus on, okay, where are we making missteps in case we do want to compete against teams that are on that level. But yeah, I mean, I have a great relationship with all my players. Unfortunately, they all live on campus and I live off campus. So, but we definitely do events, stuff like that. Even this weekend, we have a NASCAR event that we're going to, courtesy of NACL. But I have a great relationship with all my players. I talk to them on the daily. And it's really nice to kind of see a team that we all come together, we're all friends and stuff like that, but we're great competitors first.
Awesome. Well, thank you, and GG once again on getting this clean 2-0 sweep. Oh, clean in a sense of quotes there
Yeah.
against Embry as well. And
Right.
hope to see you and the rest of the team later on in the future in the season.
Yeah, we'll see you guys at playoff finals.
Awesome.
Okay, bold words, Collimer. I like it. Hearing from the coach. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's pretty much going to do it for us here at CSL. Of course, we do want to extend our thanks to everyone who helps make this possible. Definitely the teams here, Embry, Riddle, and of course, Arizona State, taking the time out. Most matches are played on Saturday, so they did have to reschedule to be here for us playing this evening. So obviously, huge thank yous and congratulations to ASU. Thanks again to Embry Riddle for appearing on stream for us here tonight as well. And of course, always a huge shout out and thanks to GameStop for all of their esports support with the GameStop weeklies that have been rolling out all year long. All sorts of fun games there. You can find out more GameStop.com/esports for everything they're doing to help support the collegiate scene. But that's going to do it for us this evening, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, I'm Corvus, Coco the Dragon, Coach Collimer of the victorious ASU. We're going to see you this time, same place, next week, every Tuesday night, all the way through Thanksgiving, the rest of November. So until then, we have to bid you adieu and good night.
Nice.